the first time I've been welcomed at an event like this, because you guys are much more technical than I am. But hopefully I'm now about to take you on a journey that talks about leadership, change, and how we embrace technology in the transformation of the Nordic's leading telco, actually, and a telco that we want to make one of the most purpose-driven and digital in the world. But let's get started. You know, last year on this stage, there were discussions on some difficult home truths. Our sector has clearly been chasing growth for decades. But to quote Stefan Rohn, we haven't cracked the formula yet. His take is that's because we've been looking to the past to reignite growth and not really looking at the levers that needed to be pulled in the future. And as a result, by continuing to look backwards, we haven't been having the desired impact to really restore growth. But things are starting to look up. The TM Forum themselves have now said that connectivity providers are now at a fork in the road. And that with revenue momentum now building, albeit helped a little bit by inflation, it's time for operators to place new bets. I wouldn't disagree, but I would also say that the industry needs to be careful on how quickly it rushes to place new bets before ensuring that we're all taking all the steps we can to create value from the core of our business, which is in connectivity, and in how we better serve our customers with connectivity and the existing connectivity-enabled services that are yet to be fully monetized. But being at a fork in the road is a useful way to frame what Rainer and I are here to talk about today. So let's take you on our journey that we've been on these past 3 and a bit years to ignite growth. We call it reinventing a better Telia. But first, let's consider some of the things that's shaping all of our futures every day. First, digitalization. Everyone and everything will be connected and increasingly powered by AI. This will fuel even more cloud-based digital services and ultimately more data and more traffic in our networks, requiring more and more safe, secure, reliable, trusted digital infrastructure and, of course, digital services to be built out. Second, deglobalization and geopolitical instability, which isn't easing up anytime soon, requires us all to think carefully about who we trust to partner with, who we trust with our data, and how to secure it. And it's especially critical if you're a mission-critical service. Decarbonisation. The climate is in crisis. It's not up for debate. Digital tools and services are known to be key enablers to accelerating CO2 reduction and our move towards a more regenerative way of living, working, and doing business. As well as being very serious and complex challenges, these factors, however, in combination, as you'll see, are also enablers of growth for telco operators like Telia, who have the infrastructure, the services, and the trusted partner status to enable our customers and society to thrive in an ever-increasingly digital world. And that's what gave us the confidence that Telia could restore growth and become one of the world's most purpose-driven digital telcos. But where did we begin? Well, we started first by going back to our fundamentals. Who do we want to be? What role do we want to play? And how do we get there? And we came up with a simple answer to these questions and to get everyone pointing in the same direction with a renewed sense of purpose. Our purpose would be to reinvent better connected living. So that all of our stakeholders would benefit. We aim to be better for our customers, better for the planet and the societies we serve, better for us, our people, and our shareholders, by better leveraging what we've always been uniquely good at, connectivity, and what society increasingly needs to be better connected. So why did we go back to our core? Because that's how we believed we could first get back to growth. For too long, Telia, like many other telcos, had acquired growth in regions and sectors where it did not have a right to win, either in the medium or the long term. A great example, when Rainer and I arrived in early 2020, Telia had just acquired some advertising-funded TV channels, very expensive Champions League rights, but no capex for 5G. And we were a telco business, and the telco business in our key markets hadn't grown for years. We also inherited very complex, slow, burdened with massive legacy technology, making our customer experience cumbersome and frustrating, and extremely inefficient and ineffective. Despite this, our perceived network leadership was still a key brand strength, even if competition were trying to close the gap. And we had individual relationships with more than 50% of the Nordic Baltic households, and probably up to 60% of enterprises across our core markets. So for us, going back to our core and reinventing ourselves from where we had that position of strength was obvious and was a clear first priority. Why? Because life without connectivity is unthinkable. Reliability and dependability are in short supply, something that we've always provided and still do. The services we enable, not just those we provide, are integral to addressing the many urgent crises we face in society. And our customers trusted us even if our customer experience was absolutely shocking and had room for improvement. And quite frankly, we needed to focus. We did not have the human or financial capacity to be successful at everything that Telia was trying to be good at when there was such rapid transformation going on around us. So how do we transform? What did we need to change? It turns out we needed to change everything. Products, services, tech, customer experiences, business model, operations, our portfolio, our culture. The list goes on. And one of the biggest challenges of any transformation at scale is working out what are you going to focus on and where do you start. We therefore started with a strategy that would transform Telia looking at 4 separate pillars. First and foremost, it was connectivity, doubling down on digital infrastructure and network leadership to connect everyone to the best, most secure, most efficient, and most trusted networks in the region. Then it was clearly about our customers, understanding, anticipating, and serving their needs as they evolve over time to inspire them with and then beyond connectivity. Digitalization. We had to transform Telia to be a smarter, more efficient organization, fit for the future, that was better for both our employees and our customers in this more digital age. And finally, delivering sustainably. We had a bit of a habit of having a couple of good years and then a couple of bad years. We wanted to create value for all of our stakeholders, including the societies we operate in a consistent and responsible way, and underpinned by a more customer-focused culture. So to take you through the journey in a lot more detail, I will now pass you over to our wonderful COO, Rainer. Rainer.
Thank you, Allison. Now let's zoom into the 4 pillars of the strategy and transformation that Allison has laid out. And of course, we start with our networks. When we started, as Allison mentioned, we really were faced with a massive investment need into our networks because we had to concurrently modernize the aging 4G as well as roll out and build the 5G networks across our footprint. And so what we employed was basically the principle of simplification, standardization, and scaling. Simplification in the rollout was that we would employ a very unique methodology of having a single site visit for the concurrent 4G and 5G rollout. The standardization refers to the fact that we really brought down the number of site types, and the scaling refers to the fact that we rolled out those site types across the entire set of markets. And therefore, within very short time, now 3 years after, we are ahead of schedule with our network rollout. We are at 85% 5G pop coverage, And we see that tests really show that we have some of the best networks in the world, north of 300 Mbps for our customers. So that is one of the examples where we employ the standardization, simplification, and scale to the benefit of our customers and provide the foundation that then builds our business. And one of the things that we already saw there is that we have unlocked the capacity in the networks, actually 7x capacity, and we could deploy the fixed wireless access beyond the mobile business, which then of course connects beyond the fixed broadband our customers, which has actually doubled over the past 3 years as we see it today. Now, how do we serve and how do we transform for our consumers? As Allison said, we were faced with quite some complex customer journeys, and we had quite a focus on customer acquisition as compared to looking at our existing base. So we refocused and we also simplified by providing digital omnichannel experiences to our customers, and we refocused on really our existing base. So to understand, we built an analytics foundation, rolled it out across the entire footprint, built a marketing automation, and now we are able to provide individual recommendations across all our channels to our customers with the next best offer and the next best action. Also, what we built is quite important, listening, so that our employees would understand the customers much more intimately, down to the comments that the customer would give, so we could then directly take action and provide either the customer service or improve the products. And so the refocus refers to also then the products. We are, for example, focused on the home, very much doesn't stop at the router at the home, but we need to provide the in-home Wi-Fi connectivity with a smart Wi-Fi optimizer. We also refocused on the IPTV business, which sits on the broadband, and we were able to really provide that aggregation of choice for our customers for all the content that the customer wants to see. And we've been actually the only Nordic provider that grew the IPTV business over the past year. And last but not least, we also enter and provide the smart homes, where we have the connectivity, the alarming, and also the monitoring, and we can provide better climate in the homes with lesser energy consumption and, of course, lesser carbon dioxide emissions. So here we are back to growth. Enterprise, similar journey. We had complex enterprise journeys, even I would say more complex. Also, we had a declining legacy portfolio products, which then are replaced by ICT services, which typically have a lesser margin. So there's an extra challenge, I think, for the business. Plus, of course, we have new challenges, new competition coming in through the hyperscalers. And again here, simplification and refocus. Simplification of the customer journeys. Now we built an end-to-end customer journey which provides product changes, for example, which took normally weeks within a matter of minutes. And also we provide now the aggregation of choice for our enterprise customers, where they can find our products and of course our partner products in a very seamless way. And I think there is hardly any better example than the enterprise mobile networks that we provide, which demonstrates how we serve critical infrastructure and critical customers with our critical infrastructure. And I give 3 examples out of this one. One I think is very exciting is Agnico Eagle together with Sandvik. Agnico Eagle is one of the largest gold mining providers in the world. And now we are having the largest enterprise mobile network all below the surface, which we use and which the customer uses to have remote driving of the equipment, which is so harsh. And also, of course, the productivity increases and the driver safety is much better by having a remote driving from a control room as compared to in the truck. Second, we are working very closely with the military in Norway, which is obviously one of the most critical customers you can ever have, where we provide a portable 5G network which can be set up within a short time in critical situations and which is connected over to the macro network and a slice in the 5G macro network where we can deploy critical applications completely secure and safe and distinct from the open internet traffic. And last but not least, Ellevio, a large energy provider in Sweden, is with us digitizing the smart grid so that there's an optimization of the distribution as well as the consumption of the energy. So these are 3 examples which will illustrate the power of 5G that we are able to bring to our most critical customers. Now, Allison was talking about the transformation. How did we go about transforming the company from inside? And here again, you will have got it by now. We employed the theme of simplification, standardization, and scaling. And this was done across what we call our 5 Ps. So we looked at products, processes, platforms, our people, and our partners The transformation was not done aside. The transformation is completely ingrained into the entire organization across all our markets, across all our functions. And we called it one of the most daring transformations in the industry. And I think it was quite, and it is quite daring how we went about it. But we see the results. The results are largely on plan. For example, on the legacy products that we mentioned, we have drove down the legacy products and the legacy platforms by more than 50%, which obviously frees up the capacity that we need to invest into the new products and services which we scale across our markets. We also deployed quite a simplified and automated set of processes, and I think one of the critical processes is the operations and incident management process. And we saw by optimizing that process and by employing a continuous improvement into that process, we drove down the critical incidents quite a bit, and we saw the customer care calls likewise going down, in this case, by 20%. So there's a direct impact to customer experience and also the cost saving. And also, last but not least, a simplification we did on the partnering. We had quite many partners, quite many system integrators, very much technical and commercial, and we re-baselined our partnering into a strategic set of few partners, which we then would work much more intimate. And also, of course, we had more scale, and therefore we would be driving down the cost of the IT services, for example, when we are buying system integrator services. So that is how we went about the transformation. And now, how did we improve our delivery? When we started, we really didn't see that we got the rubber on the road when it comes to delivery, when it comes to the efficiency, when it comes to the quality. So here, investment into our people. Training for the future skills, training for cloud, for analytics, and also for agile delivery. And also we invested into the processes and tools. And even it might sound a little bit boring, but we deployed a common Jira for the entire execution portfolio across the entire company. So we have one repository of what all we do, and we can work in an integrated agile way. And we deployed a single portfolio for our software based on GitHub, which obviously is now very handy, as we can basically switch on the GitHub Copilot for a 10x productivity improvement on our developers right there. So the efficiency and the quality came up quite a bit in the delivery. So we see better time to market, we see better efficiency, and I think we see an organization, Allison, that is now set up for driving into the next phase of our transformation. However, it sounds so easy. It wasn't very easy, and we had quite some headwinds, and also learnings on the way. Why don't you share those with us?
Yes, we did indeed. We knew it was never going to be easy, but the scale of the change we then faced in the macro environment around of us, we could never have imagined the impact that would have. Since early 2020, we've had COVID, we've had supply chain issues, we've had a Ukraine war right on our doorstep, energy prices, inflation, interest rates, cost of living crisis, and now one of the worst ad market crises that Sweden has ever had, putting further pressure on a sector and a telco that has failed to deliver a decent return for its shareholders since it was privatized back in the 80s. Of course, we continue to be impacted by some of those headwinds, but we are now managing to mitigate most of them. And it's forced us to be even more disciplined and choiceful in driving the transformation forward at speed and better balancing some of the short-term priorities with our ambitions for the long term, including a radical review of our portfolio, really towards markets and segments where we have and can sustain a market-leading position. It's one of the reasons that we will finally exit Denmark after about 2 decades of never generating any cash here, but putting it into the hands of somebody that will give it scale and future in the future. So where are we now, and what have we achieved? Did we achieve what we set out to do, and have we really ignited real and sustainable growth? Well, we took the lead on 5G, just as we did on 1G and 4G, and it has been a real catalyst. You heard some of the catalysts from Rainer. Over the past 3 years, we've seen a broad-based return to growth in all of our core telco businesses, reversing multi-year declines. And the pivot already started in late 2021 and is building momentum, as you can see here. My IR team won't allow me to put years and numbers on this, but this is a real reflection of Telia Sweden's pivot to growth, or fork in the road, on both revenue and EBITDA. Norway and the Baltics is even more impressive, and even Finland is on its way too. So this is a real pivot that now we are at the heart of. Connectivity is growing mid-single digits or higher. Close to core or beyond connectivity services like IoT, data insights, and security services are growing at high double-digit rates. We are also by far the most recognized sustainable brand leader in our region. We were top of the FT climate leaders, beating all of our large peers in Europe earlier this year. But what I'm most proud of is how Telia is a company that feels proud to be at the forefront again, and proud not just to be a telco, but a key enabler of the digitalization and the security of the Nordic Baltic region. But clearly, transformation of a telco like Telia is not over in 3 years. Much has been achieved, but there is much more to do. And the environment around us will continue to change, and we will need to keep adapting or reinventing at pace. We don't have a silver bullet for growth or a blueprint, but there are some things that we've learned that might be useful for all of you. It all starts by instilling a stronger sense of purpose, being clear on why you exist and what you can uniquely do for the stakeholders that you serve. Follow this with an honest assessment of what your unique assets and unique strengths really are, and then double down on them, because focus and consistency is key. That means ruthlessly addressing what you're not good at and either fixing, selling, or partnering. As operators, more and more of our success depends on our ability to partner, collaborate, and co-create, and not try to do it all by ourselves. Because in an increasingly complex and competitive ecosystem, we need to provide and think about our connectivity as a platform for our customers to access all of the digital services they need, and a platform that we can open up to key partners so that we can offer up beyond connectivity services without having to own the full value chain ourselves. And then it's about how you reinvent and nurture your corporate culture so that the growth becomes sustainable and not just a flash in the pan. Of course, culture can at times sound soft or intangible, but it's not. And it's especially key to transformation success in these large, once incumbent telcos. Because you're not just having to transform what you do, you're having to transform how you do it via your people at scale at the same time. But that's a whole other keynote, and you'll be tired of my voice after that. Telia has been transforming for 170 years now, and it's been an absolute honor to have been a part of this chapter of its transformation. As many of you know, I'll be moving on to another chapter in January. Telia's transformation, however, will continue, and our sector's transformation will continue, because the only thing we can confidently predict is that everything will keep changing, and it will come faster than it ever has before. But by focusing on what we do best and constantly renewing and reinventing ourselves around that core purpose of what we believe that we can be really good at, we believe we've now ignited back in Telia, and it's now the start of sustainable growth for all of our stakeholders. So that's all we want to say today. Thank you for listening. Now enjoy the rest of your time in wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen.
Thank you, Allison. Fantastic. So much content in there, and almost a masterclass in taking a incumbent telco. I know it's been a hell of a journey, but thank you for your honesty there about what it takes to make that happen. I think that's inspiring for all of us to hear. Now, I can't exactly hide this, so I'm going to explain what this is first. We announced yesterday the next 5 companies in the world. So we now have 9, over 1 billion subscribers now served by companies running on ODA. Telia, thanks to its amazing commitment to standards, and we've been very proud to be on this journey with you, has been acknowledged as the next company to be running on ODA. So it's my great pleasure to present this little award to you now, Allison.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ryan mentioned there, outstanding commitment to standards, but also giving back, and we see that more and more as you go on this journey. Now, Allison, you mentioned there, this is a closing of this chapter for you. You've started something remarkable in Telia, and I'm sure that will continue, but you're starting a new journey in January, taking on another incumbent in the form of BT.
I like a challenge.
You certainly do. So what's your biggest takeaway as you start to reflect on this chapter in Telia? What will you take away from that experience? What's the lesson learned?
I think that probably two things. Having been at a couple of incumbent telcos now, the deep sense of purpose and role in society is so much bigger than any challenger telco. And in this era where governments and society think a little bit more closer to home and who they can trust, and as I said, some of these mega trends and what that can fuel for us, I think Telia is probably a little bit ahead in some of the sustainable innovation that we're doing around connectivity. Rainer shared them, whether it be with the military or whether it be with property and housing, whether it be with the energy sector. So I think the Nordics are a little bit ahead of the UK in general when it comes to digitalization and sustainability. So I hope I can take that. And then there's the culture piece. When you're having to transform at scale, and you've got so much legacy, not just, technology in the company, but legacy mindset. That is a journey that is a multi-year journey. But the more you can bring the organization with you and reinstill that sense of pride and purpose is definitely something that I'm hoping to take.
And you've unlocked a lot of energy in doing so from the sound.
Yeah. You've got to have a lot of energy. Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Well, that's us out of time today. Thank you so much to Allison and Rainer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, this way.